Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome back. And as promised, today we're going to talk about everybody's favourite subject, the Rona, or the curve, or whatever you're calling it nowadays. The virus that everyone's focused on. My thoughts and opinions. These are only my thoughts and opinions based on everything that I've seen, based on everything that I've read. And, it shouldn't be taken as being fact, but I urge you all to go and check out the information for yourself. That's why I don't provide any kind of links or anything like that, because I urge you to go and find the information for yourself. My opinion, my words don't mean anything. You need to see it for yourself. So I can give you the guidance, I can show you the door, but you have to open it and you have to walk through it. So I will give you my thoughts and opinions based on what I've seen, and it's up to you to decide what you believe, what you think is good for you, and I urge you to go and seek out the information and then decide what's right for you. That all being said, let's get on with it. Now, I'm not going to come out and say this is an outright fraud, it's an outright con, because I don't think it is. I think there is a virus of some description, a bad flu or whatever you want to call it. It's it's something new, something different that people haven't seen before, and it has caused issues for certain people within the population, of course, as we've seen. Afternoon, how are we doing? But all that being said, I think that nothing about this makes any sense. Nothing. I've been saying this to all the people that I know since early in the year, up until now. And this is part of the channel part of the reason why I started this channel was to put it out to a wider audience and speak my truth, in the face of what I think is blatant propaganda. So why do I think this is not on the level? Why do I think it's not what we're the same as what we're being told it is? There's many things. Did you know, for instance, that on the 19th of March here in the UK, that the UK government downgraded the coronavirus to flu? The same equivalence as a flu. That was before we locked down. And here we are after lockdown. After the danger was supposedly passed. We were in the lockdown. We were supposed to be locked down for a couple of weeks to flatten the curve so that the hospitals weren't overwhelmed. And here we are, 6 months in or something, and we're wearing masks. It doesn't make any sense. Nothing about this makes any sense. Now, if you recall, if you've seen my earlier videos, you recall that I was talking about money. Why was I talking about money on a commentary channel? Because I believe that this is all tied in together. Now, I've been watching the financial markets for a few years now. Obviously, there's people a lot more skilled than I am with these different markets, but it's been through looking at these markets that I've decided that that it sort of lines up with why all this is happening and why now. Now, if you had a look at the lead up to where we are today in 2020, for many years, since 2008, for instance, we had the financial crisis of 2008, the subprime mortgage crisis. If you don't know what that is and don't know how it came about, watch a movie called The Big Short. That'll soon give you some ideas about how things work and how corrupt financial institutions and rating agencies are. So worth a look. Have a look at The Big Short. Now, for many years, the world has been in financial decline. Inflation, we spoke about that in one of my earlier videos, where they're inflating the money supply, which means it degrades the value of the money supply. So your buying power every year is reduced by, they say 2% inflation, but it's never 2%, it's always more. So basically they're robbing you through inflation for the value of your money. Your pay doesn't go up by the same inflation rate each year, but everything else does. The cost of your money goes up every year, but it doesn't go as far. So in the last few years, the world has been in decline. They've been printing money since 2008. Let's face it, they've increased the money supply drastically since 2008, and the financial system, the fiat financial system, the market as we know it, the money, cash, whatever you want to call it, fiat money, has been in decline for some time now, and the world GDP for each country, the world GDP has been in decline for even longer. Now, there's normally what happens is when you have a financial system such as we do, and it starts to go into decline, they have an event to reset the money supply, if you like. So, you know, big wars are always an event that they can use to say, well, we just have to, we have to do this because of the war, we have to, do that because of the war, whatever it is. They use big events as an excuse to do whatever they need to do in the financial markets. So it's just handy that there's such a confluence of events at the moment that's come together that this virus has allowed them to do all the things that they wanted to do. So the financial market had to be reset. It was in serious decline. So that basically the American dollar, which is the world reserve currency, if you've seen one of my earlier talks, had been devalued so much, and they're devaluing it more every day, devalued so much that it's pointless using it. It's worthless, absolutely completely worthless. So they had to come up with a new system. Now, I've spoken also about digital assets, as you can see in my shirt, XRP. There's many digital assets, obviously, but that's now the subject of every conversation to do with Parliament, to do with banking. It's everywhere. Digital assets and blockchain technology and distributed ledger technology, it's everywhere. Now, is it a coincidence that this year, when we have a virus that they say all the money is dirty, that we just also happen to have a digital financial system ready to go? Coincidence? I'm sure it is. Is it also a coincidence that this year is an election year in America, where the people who have been running the show, the money show, for a long, long time want to get rid of Donald Trump? And here we are, here's an excuse, crash the financial markets. And how does that make Donald Trump look? There's too many coincidences like that, and anybody who knows anything about coincidences knows that there's no such thing as coincidence. So, there's too many of these coincidences that make me question everything. Now, as I say, there's a lot of different things to do with the current situation that makes me nervous. Hello, how are we doing? Good, thanks. And I think it all started with Mr. Ferguson and his famous model. Now, there was, after he released the data set, the modeling that he used, every single coder in the world said it's the worst piece of code they'd ever seen. And the data sets were completely wrong. Everything about that code was wrong, and all the government decisions to do with how we tackle this situation that we're currently in, it was all based on this model. Now, we were told 500,000 people in the UK would die, and 1.5 million or 2 million in America would die. Obviously, that's a complete fabrication. The numbers were so far wrong, it's ridiculous. Ferguson, he was, he's a joke anyway, but he suggested the social distancing and the lockdown, and this is the same guy that broke the lockdown to go and meet up with his mistress. So I think that should tell you everything that you need to know right there. These people don't give a shit about you, about me, about anybody. It's all about them and maintaining their structure, their power over us by any means necessary. Now, the financial institutions run the world. So it's the banking, it's the central banks, it's the financial institutions, it's the largest companies in the world who run the world. If you think politicians are in charge, sorry to tell you, but that's not the way it works. Now, as I say, it all started with the modelling. The modelling was completely ridiculous, utterly, totally ridiculous, of course, and we've seen that. It's people are using those. The number we didn't get close to the numbers of fatalities from this virus as what they said they would in the modelling, and people use that as an excuse to say, well, look, see, the lockdowns worked. I mean, obviously that's just, they're looking for an excuse to say the lockdowns worked. The lockdowns were a complete joke. the lockdown's going to kill more people than the virus ever will. That's been shown to be true. As far as all the psychological reports are saying, obviously people committing suicide and what have you. So I'm just going to take a detour into the forest here. A lot of people come from both directions. Yeah, so the lockdown didn't work. It was a joke, the biggest issue I think came from the WHO, the WHO, World Health Organization. The World Health Organization were making recommendations. Firstly, they said masks weren't necessary. Washing hands was fine. That would take care of it. Then they changed their mind. They flip-flopped all over the place. For 1 second it was one thing, the next second it was another. Then we heard from prominent doctors, virologists, immunologists, neurologists. I mean, every kind of ist and doctor you can imagine, and they all threw their 2 cents in to say that from their understanding of this virus, or whatever you wanted to call it, that it didn't make any sense. The numbers didn't make any sense. How patients were responding didn't make any sense. It was all about the ventilators to start with, and then we found out the ventilators were actually killing everyone that was hooked up to one. You had these doctors coming out, and as soon as they came out and said anything, regardless of what kind of qualifications they have, and their medical record of who they were, who they are, their qualifications, they were instantly dismissed as being kooks or crackpots. This should trouble us all. When you have highly respected doctors and highly respected people in their fields are coming out and saying, hang on a minute, there's things that don't make any sense. And then the media tries to dig up anything that they can to discredit those people. We should all be very, very wary about that. Now, the other thing that troubles me about this is the media has run the whole show on this. The media has created an atmosphere of fear, with the governments, of course, but it's the media that have been driving it all. And there's been so many mixed messages from the beginning to right now, and no one knows what's real and what's not. I mean, look at the list of symptoms. It started out as flu-like symptoms. Okay, big deal. It started out. It was a winter time, and it started. Of course, you're going to have flu-like symptoms. So anybody that had flu-like symptoms was instantly thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die, or I'm going to pass it on to someone I love, or whatever other nonsense. Then we found that it was new symptoms were getting added every day. Loss of smell, loss of taste. Okay, that happens. Flu, it happens. Then we had diarrhea. Then we had skin rashes. Then we had every single possible thing you could possibly list came from this virus. So no matter what symptoms you were having, it was COVID. I made a remark and said to people on Facebook, all my friends and family, does anybody know anybody who has COVID? And I had plenty of responses. Oh yes, I know somebody, my auntie's uncle's cousin twice removed, that I heard through somebody else has got COVID. And I said, well, how do you know they had COVID? Well, you call up this number 111, and they'll tell you over the phone that you have it. And I said, what, so there's no physical test? No, they just tell you by your symptoms that you have it. Then we find that the testing kits have been found to give false positives. Not just singularly, but multiple cases. Thousands and thousands of people who had no symptoms, who had no issues whatsoever. Whether you call them asymptomatic, whatever you want, that they were testing positive, right? And we were told that we were originally told that asymptomatic people didn't spread the virus. Then we were told that they did. Then we find out just recently that 90% of the people that were told that they were COVID positive probably weren't, and it was all because of the way that the test works. And they could take a small amount of this viral material from your body, and then they have to replicate it over and over again to see if you have the virus. Now, it's in that replication that it builds you, so you can have a small, tiny fraction of this virus in your system, which wouldn't be transmissible anyway. But because they have to keep on Look, I don't know the terminology. I'm not going to lie to you, I don't. But because they have to keep on purifying, it actually increases the amount of virus in the test sample. So even if you came out with a positive test, you probably weren't positive anyway. You couldn't pass it on because you didn't have enough in your system to be able to pass it on. There's so many irregularities with this virus. It doesn't make any sense. None of it. None of it. Absolutely none. The modelling was wrong. All the numbers, here in the UK, they've rejigged the numbers and said, okay, we miscounted. We counted wrong. Of the 43,000, whatever it is that they're saying here, we have to take off an extra 6,000 or an extra 10,000 because people who are dying in car accidents were being listed as COVID deaths. So if you died with it, and this is the distinction you need to see in the newspapers and the media. People dying with COVID and people dying of COVID. Now, there was an interesting thing that the CDC put out just the other day where they said, of the 160,000 people or odd that had died in the US, for instance, that only 10,000 of them, or less than 10,000 of them, had died purely as a direct result of COVID. And there was, other people that had died, because they had multiple health concerns anyway, and anything could have killed them. The flu, which I think it's a bad flu, if you have a look at the flu deaths each year in each country, you'll see that, people die of the flu every year and pneumonia, and they're pretty close to what we have now with this virus. The numbers of deaths directly attributed to. And if you have a look at the correlation every year with the flu deaths, with the flu deaths that happen yearly, and look at the people who die, and look at the multiple health issues that they have. So you have people who have lung issues, you have people who have comorbidities. They're called multiple comorbidities. And then they have a flu, and it's not listed as a flu death. It can be, somebody could have stage 4 cancer and get the flu, and the flu will be the final nail in the coffin for them. But they actually died of cancer. Let's be brutally honest about it. Look, nobody wants to see people die. But that's a harsh reality of life, that we're all going to die one day. And when you get to be 80, 90 years old, maybe people living in nursing homes, they're going to pass, and no one wants to see it, and it's sad, it's tragic. Every single death is tragic, but at the same time, we're all going to have to face that one day. And this virus, if no one's walking around without masks and the media weren't telling us all the garbage that they're telling us, would anybody really know that there's a virus? Honestly, ask yourself that question. Look around you. How many people have you seen that are dropping dead in the street? If this was a real pandemic, was something that was going to kill us all, then you would know. You wouldn't be able to avoid it. If you have a look, has anybody else noticed as well that rather than using the death rate now, it's the count, it's the infection rate that they're using now as the number that they're quoting. Now, what that means is you have a massive amount of people that are testing positive, because obviously they're still testing people. A massive amount of people testing positive, but there's less people dying, which means that the mortality rate of this thing keeps on reducing all the time, every single day. So, it started out as 99.04, I think it was a fatality rate, and that's a pandemic. Now, you can doubt what I'm saying, you can doubt the validity of everything like this, but the problem is that as soon as we get to a situation where you create, where we shut the whole world down, shut the whole world economy down for something with a 99.046 living through it rate, what happens every year when we have the flu come around? Are we going to shut the world down every year? And the other thing that strikes me as really odd, really, really strange, is we all know how important nutrition is. We all know it. If you don't, hello, woohoo, hello. Time to wake up, because nutrition is everything. Let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. If you don't know that nutrition is the key to everything, then I'm sorry to tell you, but it's time to read some books. Now, at no point did anyone ever, from politics to media, ever say you should really take some vitamins. Take some vitamin C. You know, look after yourself. Do some things that are positive. Fresh air. No, I need to breathe through a mask. So you're breathing back in the carbon dioxide that you're breathing out. I mean, what kind of delusional attitude is that? I mean, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And no one mentioned taking some vitamins. So no one mentioned eating some healthy food. No one mentioned going out for a walk and getting some exercise, getting some fresh air. No one. So, you know, this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with corruption at such a deep level that is everywhere. And then, you know, I like this video. I don't know how long it's going to last. I really don't. I don't know how long it's going to last on YouTube. YouTube will probably close down my channel for this. But, you know, since when has YouTube or Facebook or Twitter been the arbiters of truth? Honestly, you have frontline doctors come out and they have a meeting on the town hall stairs, and they say this is the findings from all the studies about hydroxychloroquine, however you pronounce it. You know, here's the studies. Here's the effectiveness rate. You know, we can treat this. It's no big deal. This is, you know, it's a virus. It's a flu virus. We can, you know, no problem at all. And those people, these are doctors with a degree, are being shut down and deplatformed for speaking about what they fucking learned about their entire life. You know, these are people that studied and have a degree and are practicing in that field, in the medical field, and get deplatformed by Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, the arbiters of truth. You know, what's that, a thought crime from 1984? You know, look, the problem is that no one questions anything anymore. We're all just told this is the truth and that's how it is. You know, why doesn't anybody question it? Why doesn't anybody say, hang on a minute, that doesn't make any sense to me? You know, this whole thing about the money supply, look at what's happening in the background. You know, I've been talking about it for years now, years and years and years. Look at what's happening in the background. It's like a magic trick. How do magicians do their trick? They go, look over here, while the other hand is taking your wallet out of your pocket. That's what's happening, people. That's what's happening to you right now. This is why I talked about investments as the first couple of videos that I did, because what's happening now is the largest transfer of wealth that's ever happened in the history of the planet. You know, and if you don't see it and you're not invested in it, then I'm sorry, but you're going to miss out. You know, and it's the poor people, as always, that are going to miss out on this because they don't look beyond what they're told in the media. You know, as I say, I'm not the arbiter of truth. I am someone who is speaking my truth, you know, out into the world after I've looked at everything myself. And how many of you have really taken the time to look beyond what the media are telling you? Think about it. You know, this is what's happening in America right now. There's a reason for it. What is Donald Trump doing? You don't have to like Donald Trump. I get it. A lot of people don't. We're going to speak about Donald Trump in another video. A lot of people don't like him. I understand. You know, he's not everyone's cup of tea. I get it. But what's he doing? What executive orders is Donald Trump signing? So if you have a look at the executive orders, and then, you know, when I spoke about money, that's not real. It's all just fake. It's just printed paper. That's all it is. And there's a private company that prints it, right? So what's Donald Trump doing? What's the real currency of the world? What makes the world go round, right? That's the questions you want to ask yourself. And don't take it from me. I want you to go and look for yourself. I'll tell you where to look, right? So the real currency of the world, these people are interested in holding on to, the real currency, the real thing, okay? Guns, drugs, children. That's the currency that they're dealing with. That's what they're changing around. That's what this is all about, you know? What's happening in the background of this virus? Have a look at the media's not reporting on it, but you can find it. Paedophiles everywhere around the world are getting arrested. Everywhere. Not small time, but big time. Big time. You know, and it started, you know, when this whole virus started. This has been co-opted. The virus has been co-opted by the people who are trying to do some good in the world. They're also co-opting the new implementation of this new financial system. So the new financial system that we were going to get was going to enslave us all. Digital finance, digital banking and digital world without cash means that you are under the control of the people who control that money flow. If you don't have cash, if everything is digital, then you're a slave to the system. Now, this is why I'm very wary about investments and digital investments as well, because depending on who controls it is depending on whether it's going to serve us or whether it's going to enslave us. Now, you have to make a decision about what's right for you, but I urge you to go and look for yourself. Go and look at the numbers. Go and look how it's being reported. Go and examine what's been happening with the world economy. Go and have a look at the financial newspapers, Forbes, Bloomberg. Go and watch CNBC and see what they're talking about. It's all digital. Everything's digital, right? They're all talking about digital economy. They're talking about getting rid of the American dollar as their world reserve currency, and they're talking about a new gold standard. Now, if there's a new gold standard, the gold and precious metals like silver, palladium, platinum maybe, are going to underpin the new currency that's coming. So is it a coincidence? This is the questions you want to ask yourself. Is it a coincidence that there just happens to be, while the world is shut down, while you're locked in your homes, so they know where everybody is and you can't move around? Look at Melbourne. What's happening in Melbourne? I know. You should know, but you don't. What's happening around the world where you see these massive lockdowns? Pedos are getting arrested, and so they should. So the high-ranking ones are also going to go. There's a lot of things that are going to be happening before the end of the year. This election is going to change. The American election is going to change the whole world. The whole world. It's not just America. It's about the whole world, and everything is at stake right now. See this for what it is. That's all I urge you to do is just go and look. Go and look at the information. Look beyond what the media is telling you, because we all know that the media lies. They're corrupt as hell. They are corrupt. And if you don't believe me, I'll give you an instance of, there was a former British Prime Minister called Edmund Heath, who was a paedophile, who after his death, we found out that he raped and killed children. Okay, that's a British Prime Minister, okay? Who else have we got? Oh, Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile was a deviant beyond measure. A pedo, it was a necrophiliac. I mean, the guy was just as sick as you possibly get. This is the sickest mind, the sickest man you could possibly come up with. This guy, okay? After his death, of course, it was known well before, he worked for the BBC for 30 years. Did the BBC once report about this man? No. What you need to understand is that the media is complicit, they're corrupt, and they're propaganda mouthpieces. So when the media tells you something, and they're all in the same lockstep, you could change from one channel to another channel, read one newspaper, go to a different newspaper, and see it word for word that they're all saying exactly the same thing. That's propaganda, folks. And what's happening right now with this virus is propaganda to create fear and to create panic and to create division amongst you and amongst me and amongst everybody. Because divided, we are easy to rule over, which is what's happening. Look at us divided over everything. Men against women, gay against straight, white against black. It's every single divisive thing you can possibly imagine we're being divided on, and this coronavirus is used as a weapon to do it. So all that being said, do your own research. Just go and look at the numbers. Go and look at what the doctors are saying. Go and look at the research into the medicines that I say can get rid of this thing. Go and look. That's all I urge you to do. Get some vitamins. Look after yourself. Now, that's all the nonsense to do with the virus. Here's the final sort of word that I want to leave you with. I always try and finish on a positive note because we've got enough negativity in the world and divisive nonsense in the world as well. So my final sort of thought for the day is, you know, there's a lot of pressure on us to conform and be a certain way and to behave a certain way to conform to societal norms. Now, you know, when you have society going in a direction that doesn't fit with how you feel that you should be, then seek out those people that have a similar mindset. I'm when I speak on Facebook or on Twitter, or there's always going to be people that disagree. I understand that. We don't always have to agree on everything, but what we need to do is we need to be able to have conversations with each other, and we should be able to have conversations with each other. So find those people that you can converse with that's not necessarily going to agree with everything you say, because that's pointless. You don't want to just live in an echo chamber. You want to have people that are going to challenge you. But find the people that are around you that have a similar mindset. They want to help you spread your message and be able to refine your message down to, cohesive points to be able to get the point across, because people are living in fear, and it's our responsibility to be able to help pierce that fear, and that fear is being driven by the media. We don't have to live under fear. We don't have to live in it. It's up to all of us to spread a positive message and to interact with people and to have, I've got elderly neighbours. I talk to them, obviously I give them space because they don't feel comfortable. I get it. I understand. I don't wear masks. And I don't think anybody should, but if people want to, then please go ahead and do it. But what we need to have is human interaction. We need to be interacting with each other. We need to speak. We need to be able to touch each other. We need to be able to hug each other, shake hands, because that's what it means to be human. And I've said it before, that the only real currency in this world, forget about all the other garbage that they're trying to say is currency, the paper, the guns and the drugs and the children, that's the currency that they use for their means and their ends. But the only real currency that we have in the world is each other and our interactions. So make the most of our interactions, and try and be positive. Now, hopefully you enjoyed what I was just talking about. It was a bit of a rant, but I've been looking at this for a long time, and I think that that's what I think. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Any thoughts, comments, please leave them down below in the comment section. If you like what you see, please hit the like button. If you don't like it, then hit the dislike button. I get it. I understand. You don't have to like everything I say. And if you think it's worthwhile, then please feel free to share, and subscribe. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. And I look forward to seeing you hopefully sometime in the future. And the next one is going to be another challenging one, but it's all linked in together, I promise. And it is climate change. Climate change.